This video is sponsored by Squarespace. I am an Australian that lives in Iceland for the last 5 years on and off, and with my previous life, with my intense travel schedule that I've had, I don't think I was ever really in Iceland long enough to fully experience what it's like to be here and actually experience the best and the worst of this country. So now that 2020 has happened and we're locked in this country, I feel like I'm finally understanding Iceland much more. So this video will be an insight as an outsider living in Iceland, the pros and cons of living in this country. We are about to go foraging, so I'm gonna take you along on the journey and just show you one of the most beautiful aspects of living in such a pristine country with so few people here. This is such a rarity. Let's go and enjoy the blue sky. Our house is starting to come along really nicely. We're doing a few interior and exterior decoration right now and some touch-ups because summer is really the only time that you can do anything like this in Iceland. Otherwise it gets just a little bit too intense with the winters. So we're trying to get as much outdoor things done as possible now before the harsh winter comes along. By the end of the day, hopefully these will be all filled with mushrooms and blueberries. In Iceland, no matter what the weather looks like outside, like even if it's sunny right now, it doesn't matter. Always a raincoat, always something warm. Because Iceland changes its mind every 3 seconds. The reason why we're going mushroom picking is because on our land we found this. So we're hoping that in the forest down the road, there'll be more. That's so blue. A day for the winter is gone!
Fuel here is 222 kroner a litre, which is about $1.60 US a litre. I always thought it was expensive, but apparently the UK is more expensive, so I don't complain anymore. Wow.
It's a really sweet geothermal area in Iceland. It's so wild to see this because it's all freaking powered by volcanoes. There's lava underneath us right now heating this water. This country is so weird. Wow, it's so pretty.
Strawberries.
Strawberries?
But these are all strawberry plants. Oh, very delicious.
The very first point that I have is the weather. Now, I don't know if I should classify it as a pro or con because it's got beauty in all different ranges. Most people know that Iceland doesn't really get warm. Today is 16 degrees Celsius and it's sunny and it is hot, like hot, proper hot. Whereas when I was in Australia, I would think that 16 degrees is a disaster. It's not even worth going outside for. So it changes your perspective, and the pro of this type of weather is that the weather no longer dictates your happiness level. The weather just is, and there's no such thing as bad weather in Iceland. There's just bad clothing, and that's actually a saying that they have here. You do not change any of your plans based on the weather. The other upside of this grey, miserable, windy, cloudy weather is that Iceland looks really beautiful in this type of weather. It looks moody, and that's when it shines most. The weather like this, you don't really know how to photograph it very well. It's very difficult. So it maybe enjoyment level goes up, but aesthetic aspects go down. So that is a pro of the miserable weather. This type of weather is obviously you don't ever get a chance to sweat. We take a lot of vitamin D. To the best of my knowledge as an Australian living here, I believe there is nothing in the tall grass that could eat you here or kill you like in Australia. You get spiders, you get snakes, you got everything else in between, which is so horrible. So at every possible chance, I try to walk around barefoot to experience this place, to have such a beautiful novelty. So I dare say Icelandic people take this for granted, but this is a definite pro for me. First one. Iceland doesn't have everything that you need. There are definitely limitations as to what is available in this country. Certain shops you don't have available here. But along with that, if you want to order anything from overseas, the import tax is very high. It's about 24% for most items. It varies a little bit. That is so frustrating, and that's something I cannot ever get used to because it's such a pain in the ass because you already paid for something and then you almost have to pay like a huge chunk just to receive it. And I don't know any Icelandic person that likes this either. It just sucks. So from my understanding, as a noob to this foraging world, which is so much fun, in Iceland, and I don't know if this is correct, you have to double check because we're going to double check these when we get them home, but the ones that have like pipes at the bottom, basically like sponge. These are edible. The other ones, poisonous, but it's such a touch and go with mushrooms because they can be so deadly. So you really have to double check, triple check, quadruple check. The other thing I adore about this country is the limited amount of people that live here. And I'm a little surprised that people don't want to live here as much as we do. I love the lack of people. I don't like the hustle and bustle. I don't like busyness. Even downtown, what they call busy is not really busy. The influx of tourists is definitely more busy. But if you get off the beaten track, there are just so few people. You have the whole country to yourself, it feels like sometimes, and I really love that. It's like this weird thing that people come here for like 3 to 5 days, tourists, and they go to those really huge spots that you have to see, and it's like, wow, I've been to Iceland. But Iceland really is these small tiny moments. It's the energy that's here, it's the calmness, the presence of being in the moment, whereas those big touristy spots, they definitely had appeal to me at the start, and they are beautiful. I'm definitely not taking away from that, but Iceland is so much more than just that. The huge downside of Iceland is the lack of fresh fruits and vegetables. That really hurts. As an Australian, holy crap. That's like, you have to check if your food is rotten before you buy it. So whenever you're shopping at the grocery store. Huh? Really? So good. 4 more. But yeah, that's why I'm excited to be growing our own food, organic food in our greenhouse soon, which is 3.5 meters by 4 meters long. So it's huge. So we're going to grow a lot of food for ourselves and a huge variety of food. So we'll be able to choose our own food from our garden instead of relying on the very limited range of organic fruits and vegetables here in this country. And they're very expensive. Leon.
I know.
Leon.
It's so amazing.
Wow.
So
One of the favorite things that we moved for to Iceland is the purity of air and purity of water. It is the tastiest water in the world, and there's an abundance of it. And the air quality is... This is a really nice one. So the pro of Iceland is that it's extremely safe, like extremely safe compared to all countries actually. And it's now considered the #1 place in the world to raise a child. Iceland is also considered to be some of the happiest people in the world as well on the happiness index. I would say a downside is the lack of infrastructure for tourism, because it is a lot of tourists, like 2 million a year roughly. So you oftentimes see people just leaving their toilet paper everywhere, which is really frustrating, because even if you shit in nature, you can dig a hole and you can cover your toilet paper up. So I don't understand why people don't do that, to be completely honest. And if you pee, drip dry. This is another downside upside. Iceland is quite isolated, and it's a really good thing away from the world right now. Like, we're pretty back to normal and we're not too affected by what's going on. Definitely not as much as the rest of the world. So that's pretty nice. The government is pretty nice to everyone and it's understanding, and the citizens have a very strong opportunity to change if they don't like something. Like, they can vote people out, they can protest really fast. Like, 1/3 of the country can turn up to protest within 2 days notice if they're not happy. So change happens here quite fast. The downside for us as Australians is that our families are in Australia, so we're very far. If we're talking minor things outside of Reykjavik, if you're looking for like quality food, it's harder to get. It's definitely harder to get, and the further you get out of Reykjavik for food options, the more expensive it gets and the more basic it seems. Obviously there's exceptions to the rule, but this is generally what I've found. Mr. Alchemist, how you feeling?
very happy. Free food, free organic, natural food.
Wow. Food scene, unless you're here for the fish or lamb and you're outside of Reykjavik, nah. This is a different type of mushroom. This is called the slippery jack. Apparently it's delicious. Amazing thing actually about Iceland that I'm starting to really enjoy. At first it was a bit of a shock, but I'm getting used to it now, is that the summers are actually quite short. And it's a shock because once summer starts, it's like full steam ahead, get as much of the outdoors in as possible. And it's very hard to get much work done, especially with Icelandic people, because they're always out and about. They do the bare minimum because they're making the most out of summer, which I really love. And I understand completely, because one, the 24-hour sunlight here is so insane and you don't really feel like sleeping, so you just go like crazy, hanging out with friends, doing outdoor activities. Just your energy levels are so high because you know that there's going to be a stage very soon where you want to go into hibernation. And at first I really hated this because I was like, why is summer so short and then soon it's going to be so dark? But now you make the most of summer, you enjoy the crap out of that, and then you enjoy winter as well to its fullest, which is a time of hibernation and going within. And that's why there's so many creative people in this country, because in winters you stay indoors and you hibernate. You go to sleep earlier, you sit around with candles and fireplaces and sit in hot tubs and read books and and create, paint, write books. More books are written here per capita than any other country in the world. So yeah, this is all I would predict. Most of it is done during winter because that's when you're stuck indoors. People of Iceland are freaking bomb.com. I love them. They're super, super cool. I think Australians and Icelanders are actually quite similar in a lot of regards. Icelandic people are very laid back, not overly polite, which I love. I love when people are just straightforward and they just say it as it is and they're honest and they're real. And I would say a lot of Icelandic people are like that and super creative and quite weird as well, but I think weird is a really good thing. They're not predictable, I guess. There's an element of authenticity. It's just like you don't know what you're gonna get, and I love that about people because I don't want to have the exact same interaction with everyone. Like, I'm always looking for unique individuals, so Iceland has that for sure. Ow! The housing market as well. For me as an Australian, the rental market here is not as intense, especially if you get out of Reykjavik. Reykjavik is definitely becoming more expensive for both rental and buying, but outside of Reykjavik, it's awesome comparing to an Australian where everything is ridiculously expensive. So I'm very, 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 very happy about that. Oh, and finally, this is something I don't know if I can comment on too much. It's the job market. I don't know what it's like in Iceland. Do you know? It's not amazing, is it?
It's really hard for foreigners right now because
if you don't have a European passport, it's very hard for you to get a job. But if you're European, then I think obviously the priority always goes for Icelandic people, I would say, unless you have a specific skill. Like a lot of Polish people, for example, they get jobs in construction and so forth. Otherwise, I don't think it's the best. And Iceland is expensive. So living here is definitely not the most affordable, but that would be something I can't really relate to. I work online and the internet here is one of the fastest in the world, so that works really, really well for me. So darling, it's that special time again, the time that we all cherish. We all already know about the exceptional 24/7 customer service of Squarespace and their brilliant, delicious designer templates they have available. But there are a few things you do not know about. For lazy people, efficient. We have simultaneous posting available in Squarespace. Or to post your content to Twitter, Facebook, or Tumblr. Traffic overview. If you're gonna build your business, you'll need to know exactly where people are coming from so you can target them, the pages they're landing on, how long they're there. Squarespace has all those traffic overviews inbuilt. Built-in mobile websites because nobody uses a computer anymore. Search engine optimization, because sure, your website might be beautiful, but if no one can find it, what's the point? This part, Sorel, it's all up to you. You've got this. If you want to find out more, go to squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Sorel to get 10% off your first domain or website. Back to you, Sorel. Let me know what was your favorite part, what was the most enticing about living in this country if you are deciding on living here. This video has been amazing for me to film because aside from the fact that I'm far away from family and that's the hardest thing for me to deal with right now, I love this country so much, and this video really reinforced that for me, why I am here and why I adore it so much. It's a magical place, so I'm very, very thankful I have the opportunity to live here. Here's my Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to see more. And until next time, ladies, gents, boys and girls, and everybody in between,